Hello again. So today what I wanted to do was build some models. I just picked up a start collecting box of Craftworlds. So that includes, see that comes up, we can see some of the models here. We've got Farseer, which is the one I'll be building now. I've got a War Walker, which I may build. A Wraith Lord and 5 Wraith Guard. So I picked these up because I've always liked the aesthetic of these models, but for people, I guess, in the game, they know there's a whole series of new releases at the moment for this faction of the game. So I like some of the new models and new rules and so on. So I figured I might start collecting. And I actually got 2 boxes of these because I like all of the models, but also I would use them all, except for 2 Farseers. I don't even know if you can have 2, but I'd certainly run 2 of each of these. So, just as the name suggests, I think it's a good way to start collecting. So yeah, this is the one I'm building now, which is the Farseer. It's actually telling me to get this these legs and cape, so I think I'll remove those. The first thing I notice about these models is just how fine they are. By that I mean, I'm used to assembling sort of custodies and I guess more robust models. But these guys, for I guess people who aren't really familiar, are more like space elves. So, they're more, I guess, they're not sort of known for being tough and thick. They're sort of finer. A bit more of an elegant aesthetic. So I guess I just need to be a little more careful. Some of the other models I have built can sort of take a bit of a beating. I don't exactly have delicate fingers, so you know, if I dropped it or something, if you drop a Space Marine model, it just kind of bounces, unless they've got like little dangly chains or something. Usually they just kind of wear it. But it seems like just about everything about these models is dangly. You know, they're very, I guess, noble looking, you could say. Okay, I'll just glue this first part together. Hopefully my glue still works. I've found that often with these very small glue nozzles, I don't know how well I can focus on that, but with these tiny nozzles, it doesn't take much for them to get blocked, and I'm sure you can probably soak them or something in some sort of solvent to clear them out. But I've found, I guess the quickest way for me to clear it out is I go to the stove. I probably should have tried to fit that before I put it to glue, but that's fine. Looks like it's working. Yeah, I go to the stove and turn on the fan, and with a pair of tweezers or some tongs, I hold this little metal nib, which you can see you can take out, and I burn off the glue. And you can see it burn off. It sort of flares up and shoots out the end of the nozzle. Now this, I just want to show you that. So I'm trying to get this part here, and I'll try to get a close-up of that. I don't know if that gives you a bit of an indication of how fine these models are, but you know, this connection is just, it's connected to some small rune or something hanging from the front of the model. And it's held on very fine. I just found you know, you use clippers to sort of separate these models from the sprue, and when they're so fine like this, I'll see if I can get that again. Like, look at that. When they're so sort of, I call it flimsy almost, just snipping it with these alone can be enough to bend something to the point that it snaps it off. And then you've got sort of some trimming and things to do from where you've snipped it. It just makes it all very I guess it's a delicate operation. think I might swap out the old specs here for something a little more heavy duty. The old, you know, jeweler's nerd glasses. Despite how ridiculous these things look when you wear them, I found they're very useful for painting and model assembly, because you're looking at some very small details here, and you know, the eyesight's just not what it used to be. That'll do. Of course, I used to use a nail artist's sort of magnifying lamp, which was pretty good for a while, but eventually it just got too. It was in the way too often. Okay. Lucky I tried to fit that first, so I don't know if that makes sense, but what I was doing there was I'm trying to put this part on the front of that, but it actually loops in on the front and behind it. I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of goes in like that, not just front on. So that's why you should dry fit things before you put glue down, so you can figure out what you're doing before you cover the model in glue, and you can't change your mind. I guess one downside to wearing glasses while you do all this is it's been quite humid here lately, and just wearing these things, I fog them up. You know, if you go for a big walk or you know, do your exercise or whatever, and your body's running pretty hot on a humid night, and you're putting glasses on, then I just spend all the time sort of trying to defog them. I don't know if anyone else gets that problem though. Just using the edge of this sort of razor knife to scrape away mould lines, and also where I've cut the sprue away, just to sort of smooth it out a bit. Might be a bit hard to see from that angle, but he's just cleaning up the top there. So, don't know if that's even going to focus, but there we go. Now this part apparently goes on the back like that. Okay. So I put some glue on here. Might even just quickly pop that off. You can see this part also sort of runs up flush against another part. So just put a tiny bit of glue there, because when those two parts meet, it should seal that gap. Again, I don't know if you could see that, but there's a small gap at the bottom there, which may stand out a little bit if you don't directly glue it. So hopefully that did it. There's always a lot of flowing robes and things on these models. I also like the lore or the stories behind, you know, this faction in the game. So for people who aren't familiar, these are they used to be called Eldar, but I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 4, they were renamed to Eldari. And I think maybe that was a maybe a marketing or a copyright move by Games Workshop. And there we go, so like that. Alright. And I guess their lore or stories didn't change when they were renamed. So it was all still, you know, the same guys and everything. But in the game, I guess for people who aren't familiar, they represent a sort of fallen race who once, you know, conquered the galaxy, and they were, you know, very powerful, and I guess individually they are also powerful. They're I guess known for sort of having psychic powers and things. And part of their, well, there's actually a lot more to it than that, but part of their history is, and their, I guess, character is that they, because they're sort of psychically quite active, they feel emotions on a very sort of heightened level, and they over time began to sort of to chase excess in order to feel more, and eventually it led to their doom. I won't go into too much on that, but effectively they went overboard on a grand scale, and what's left of them are sort of scattered fragments of their former selves, and they sort of seek to rebuild their empire, but they know that, I guess, it's probably a fool's errand, or it's doomed because of the sort of big problem they caused. It sort of sound like it's oversimplifying it a little to people who know. But, if you want to know more, then there's plenty of YouTube videos talking about the fate of the Eldar. But it's quite cool stuff. They're collective sort of psychic emanations, and excesses caused a critical mass and created a god of excess that sort of destroyed, almost all of them the second it came into existence. And the rest of them, I guess, what's left of them, and it's not just the Craftworld ones, there's different types, but what's left of them sort of have different ways of dealing with that problem. It's one way to put it. So you could sort of say that these guys, out of all the survivors of that, I guess, cataclysm, you could call these guys the puritanical ones. So they avoided the issue largely because they were not sort of taking everything to excess. So that's a brief history of these guys. So the model I'm building is it's called a Farseer, and I don't know if they're sort of necessarily the leaders, but they're certainly important figures in this sort of factions society. And they sort of they represent sort of like a spiritual leadership. Yeah, they're sort of like, I guess you could call them space wizards, but also prophets. Yeah, the name sort of gives it away. They see into the future. So they sort of guide their people towards their, I guess, destiny or fate, you could say. I guess it begs the question, and apparently in the law, these guys effectively live forever, unless they're killed or something. So when this sort of great catastrophe befell them, what were the Farseers up to? Couldn't they see that coming? Or maybe that's why these ones that survived did survive, because they got their people out of the mess. I don't know. I'm sure someone who knows more about it than me could tell me. I like how they've got all these sort of elegant looking spears and things. It's quite cool. And the last piece. There we go. I guess one of the good things about this model, or a bad thing if you don't like it, is the base comes with its own design, not just a flat piece of plastic, so you can you don't need to sort of, I guess, develop something creative, but maybe that's what you want to do. Anyway, this is what the model looks like. You can see that sort of elegant spear, how they do everything skillfully. He's got his tactical rock that he's standing on, and tactical flowing robes. Yeah, it's a pretty cool model. I look forward to painting him when the time comes. So yeah. Thanks for watching.